Hi guys, we were doing a bit of a puddle jumper versus puddle fish last time. Just wanted to go into the puddle fish a bit more specifically, get some better footage for you a bit closer up, and talk through the technology, some of the ways you might ride it in, the fins you might want to try. So this is the 6.0 puddle fish. This is a 6.0, 22 1/4, 2 3/4, and it's 41.75 litres. So it's a good sort of grovel volume, but it's actually keeping it low enough that I can ride it in a fairly decent way. I'm quite surprised with what I can ride this in. Compared with the puddle jumper, the nose has just been taken a little bit wider. The wide point's been moved forward a little bit, and the rail's been kept nice and straight. It doesn't pull in quite as much, but the tail's still quite thin. It's a great board. The rocker's pretty much identical, so have a look at the rocker there. The rocker on this would be absolutely identical to the puddle jumper, I would say. Maybe it's slightly different, but I wouldn't have thought so myself. This is the epoxy carbon wrap construction. You've got EPS blank. There's some quite clever biaxial glass going on in it, and then you've got these spaced out carbon stringers, so that's basically become your replacement for the old school stringer. And then on the back you'll see, and these are actually quite thick. They're almost like it's almost like a little carbon seat belt, and it comes round here and then flicks off into the tail and wraps right the way around the tail and onto the rail. So it's really giving you from this point here, you're really getting that same stringer kind of I-beam there, and then you're allowing the stiffness off the edge of the tail, but you're allowing the bits in between to flex and get a lot of power. Now the carbon wrap is really fast, and so is the board. It's quite comparable to JS Hi-Fi, and in the Firewire they've got the helium now. They're very springy, poppy, fast technologies. They're very light, and they're actually starting to get quite good at controlling the damping flex. So for an epoxy, they've started to get really good at controlling some of those negatives of epoxy. So you're getting less of the chatter and bounce, and they sort of knife in a little bit better in a wave than they used to do. So that's really good. Now I've ridden this board in. Quite funny because we don't usually get much half decent surf here, but we had quite a good surf when I first bought it. So most of the waves I've ridden this board in were going from probably chest high and maxing out probably about where the ceiling is here. So probably shoulder to, a lot of the waves I've ridden it in was shoulder to overhead, which is not really what this board's made for, but it actually held its own really well. And I would almost guarantee it'll ride down in smaller waves because I've ridden my puddle jumper in the smaller waves, so I don't think you'll have any problem there. I would say your waist high to just slightly overhead. If it's a slow spilling wave like we've got here locally, you can actually push them into probably, if it's just a cruisy rolly day or a really soft point, you're probably going to get head and halves, probably still going to be fine. If you're a bit fitter and you're in good shape, you're probably riding it down at a volume that's actually going to be quite sharp anyway, and grip quite well. So yeah, and because it's a kind of grovelly board, and you'll probably run some bigger fins in it, you're going to get extra grip from the fins. So yeah, this is actually a really versatile board. It catches waves really well, paddles well. It's definitely fast. When I was looking at this, I was looking between this and the Rob Machado Go Fish. The only reason I went for this was because I really like the puddle jumper. It knocked out a lot of my other grovelers. I've ridden Baked Potatoes and like the LSD Techs and the Chumley. I've ridden quite a lot of those boards, and I just found that the puddle jumper's it's a really special board. You do actually feel like if you're just an average guy, an average surf like me, you feel like you're not making a big compromise between something with a little bit more performance, because the waves aren't really helping you out that much more. If you're a really high performance surfer, there's probably better boards for you or better grovelers for you. A lot of people don't like that width. So again, carbon wrap technology. I go through fins a bit. So basically, this one's FCS2, but I'll talk through some options for FCS2 or futures. So if you've got this and you're looking for something quite fishy, you're probably going to want to run like the split keel kind of setup. So this is actually a 5-fin board, so you can put any combination you want in. So I've been running these controllers. These are the split keels, but they're basically exactly the same as the Futures controllers. And then if you're into a futures fin, you'll probably either be using the futures controller or these lost seaworthy split keels. Now you've got quite a big front fin and you've got an upright rear fin, so these actually have a lot of drive and a lot of hold and actually still release fairly well. So they're a little bit more tracky than some other options, but I really like them. The theory is that that's a keel fin and it's been split out into a quad, so rather than that sort of sketchy, skatey twin fin feel, you'll actually get a drivey feel, but still with release. These are very fast, these grip really well, they're very sure-footed, they'll probably allow you to take it into quite a good sized wave. But with the 5 fin and the tail setup that's on it, I'll flip it round so you can sort of picture what might be going on. So yeah, with the 5 fin that's in it, you could run those. I've actually been running, these, we call them large quads. These are the Especials by Captain Finco. I love these are great. They kind of look really funny, but they're really good. They're quite a swept fin, but I really enjoy those. They're a bit looser than the split keels. Then you could run just your standard quad fin or standard thruster fin. I would go for probably something like the Firewire fin or the Matt Biolis Mayhem fin himself, because they're quite deep, but they don't have a massive base, so they're actually going to control your speed without creating too much more for you. So if you really want to pivot quickly, that's the side and the back out of the thruster set. But you could ride your normal, your normal quad set like your GAM or whatever it happened to be that I'd give you. The look would end up being pretty similar to that kind of thing. And then you could even try, some people have probably tried these or the MRs, which is a 2+1, so you have your 2 big fins in each side, and then you've got this little stabilizer trailer. And they've probably been more designed and optimized for this fin position. If you go for a pure 20, the 20s are probably usually supposed to be a bit further back, but yeah, a lot of people really like those and have a bit of success with them. But yeah, certainly for me, I've been running these split keels, the lost ones, and the FCS2, and they've been really good. So yeah, it rides in most waves. It really does have most of the speed of a true retro fish, but it's just a lot more control, a lot easier to turn. Really helps you out if you're just an average surfer like me. I found this board to be really good. It's got the trim speed, it's got the glide, and it still releases and turns really well. Now I left this till last because it's going to be a bit awkward to show you, but basically the concaves are quite clever in this. So similar on the Puddle jumper, this is what separates them from some of the other boards. They have this sort of single double V going on, which is not what they usually use on the Groveler. It's quite often a flatter bottom, or it's a big long double concave, or there's some V out of the tail. But so you've got a single in here, and then I'm just going to try and show you the edge of the tail because I really like that. This straight rail here, and then the inverted swallow they call this. So the release of this like upside down moontail almost, and then you've got these really straight points to pivot off. What I'm going to try and show you is that this channel, which they're calling like a release channel or an afterburner channel, this point here sits deeper in the water, so it's actually created, you've got your V going on inside this panel, and that's sat deeper in the water, and then this rail's doing its own thing almost separate to it. So Matt's really clever with this kind of stuff, so it's a really good board. So basically they're doing all these tricks to allow the center of the board to remain fairly flat and the rail of the board to curve up, so that gives you all the speed you need from the flatness, straightness of the curve underneath your feet, and the rail curve is increased to give you that maneuverability. So just gonna go and get my straight edge and try and show you the back end of this. Hopefully it comes out. So not sure how much you'll be able to see of that, but obviously you come through the single down here, single concave, single concave, single concave, getting deeper, and then it's kind of like, I'm pretty sure it's almost double in there, but as you get up onto this channel here, you can see just how much rock there is in that. So you've basically got all this V going through this channel here, and then these panels here are like a little flat panel on the end. So you get to there and it jumps up on this V, and you know, it's got all that rock, and I really think that helps to just knife into the water and help you control a little bit better. So yeah, very clever. I'll just move that around a bit so hopefully you can get a bit of an idea of the concaves of the board. It's always hard to show these things on camera, but yeah, so that is the Lost Puddle fish in a little bit more detail. Say carbon wrap technology. This one's actually made in Vietnam, funnily enough, but I think they're making them overseas, and you can get them in through some of the local shops, and then obviously depending on where you are, you can shape them under license. But if you're surfing like East Coast New Zealand, or if you're in the UK in some of those spots that are a bit slower, this is probably going to cover a very large percentage of your surfing. I'd be happy at our local break here in probably 2 to 4 foot, I'd say. So probably waist to chest at the starting point, and then just a bit overhead would be fine. Yeah, I'd even say probably on a slow rolly day, you could probably push this into head and a half, but it's going to start getting a little bit skatey then, or it's just going to be wanting to move too fast to turn around. So yeah, I hope that's good and you enjoy that. Just trying to get a bit better footage than having both the boards there, and say this is one of the best grovelers I've had. So if you're looking at a fish, but you still want some curve in the outline, but you still want the fit, you want the speed of a retro, but you want the release of something more modern, a bit more control and a bit more wave range. This thing's amazing. I'm really happy with this. I've ridden a lot of grovelers, and this is definitely a favourite. All right, cheers guys. See ya.